whenever we're drafting messaging, we always think about who's our audience. What are we trying to achieve? What's the goal? And then we craft our message according to the person or the people or the group or the target market that we are trying to address. Now, throughout life, whether it is a speech, like as early as a confirmation or a bar mitzvah speech, or graduation from high school or college, or applying for a job, or anything as simple as an email or a text message. All these things are really important to be able to craft in a way that we're understood the way we want to be understood. Now, I think that it's really important, and it's also possible, to start teaching our kids writing skills as early as first grade. Why? What happens in first grade? Anybody want to take a guess? Let's go for the biological part first. What happens at around, say, 6 years old? Want to take a guess?
They've absorbed a whole lot of vocabulary. They're building their vocabulary, and they're doing more.
Patrice, think biologically, not academically, think biologically. What happens to our bodies? I'll even give you a hint. Think dental.
More. Oh. You lose your baby teeth. I don't know if that affects your.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. You lose your baby teeth. Well done. Bravo. According to the Mayo Clinic website, at 6, we start to lose our teeth. Now, if you take losing your teeth, and what was that second part that you started to talk about academically?
Their hand control, fine motor controls, and
right. In first grade, we start to learn sentence construction, right? Like in kindergarten, we learn our ABCs. And first grade, we start to put subject, verb, direct object together. So if we have A and B together, maybe we put them together to get C. A plus B equals C. Does that make sense? All right. So math isn't my thing. Anyway, so if we have if our baby teeth are coming out and we're starting sentence construction, well, we have a friend in the neighborhood who might be able to help us out to create an exercise. And her name is the Tooth Fairy. Now, what on earth does the Tooth Fairy have to do with writing assignments? Well, you want to take a guess?
Because you have to write the Tooth Fairy.
You need to write a request letter to the Tooth Fairy. That's right. And it doesn't have to be really sophisticated. It can be really, really simple, and whatever works for you and your child. So something like this that we have on the screen. Dear Tooth Fairy, I know that you work really hard, but I lost my tooth and I would really love to receive money, a gift, chocolate, have it an airplane, have it a car, whatever you want to put in, however you want to fill in the blank over there. Think big, kids, think big. Anyway, so you make this letter, but here's the thing. Oh, chocolate. The reason why I brought up chocolate before is because out of all the candies, this is the one that washes off your teeth, as opposed to taffy or one of those other sticky things. So I always like chocolate, and because the kids like chocolate, I always kept chocolate around. So when they asked for the sports car, I said, well, we'll talk about it when you get your driver's license years and years and years from now. I put that one off. Okay, back to the letter. When you are with your child, help them, guide them, sit with them, help them to construct their sentences, but they're doing the writing, not you. Help them with their spelling. Help them with content. Whatever they ask, you're there to make suggestions. But ultimately, they run the show. They control the dialogue. They're the owners of their own letter to the tooth fairy. And this helps them to advocate for themselves, along with writing skills, sentence construction, spelling, and being able to share the message that they want with the tooth fairy in a way that the tooth fairy will receive it the way they intend. Now, after this letter is written, then it's editing time. In public relations and throughout life, we will all learn that there is no such thing as the perfect first draft. Not one CEO that I've worked with over the years has produced a perfect first draft. Not one public relations marketing salesperson whose first drafts that I have seen, everyone can be edited, including me. In fact, if somebody tells me that they don't find anything on my first draft, I want to say, I want another pair of eyes. There's always something. There's also no such thing as the perfect first run, because we all have a first time of doing something, and we're not expected to be perfect. And just like that's a very important message to share with our children, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to have a perfect first run. It's also okay to get feedback. And rather than see it as criticism, we want our children to see this as feedback, how to improve it. So we say to our child, that was an absolutely fabulous first draft. I love your letter. That was so creative, really, really well done. Would you mind if I show you a way to make it even more fabulous? And then your child says, well, it was really fabulous. And now I get an opportunity to make it even more fabulous. Of course, I want to make it more fabulous. It's for the tooth fairy, and I want a really good gift. So rather than a red pen, which is fire engine angry, and nobody likes a document that's all marked up in red. It just makes us feel badly. I know when I was a kid and I used to get papers marked up in red, I just felt bad and wanted to cry. So instead, take a pastel color, some version of a blue or a green or a pink, and share your comments with your child in pretty colors. So whether you have 1 or 15 changes, at the end, you have a very pretty colored document, which is not offensive. It's actually welcoming. And then it's time to rewrite the letter to make it pretty and clean for the tooth fairy. Round 2. So we get another chance to do the whole thing all over again, handwriting. And when you're writing something, you're also reviewing the sentence construction over again. And you're also reviewing the messaging in your head. So if your child wants to make a change, they can. Remember, they're in control. We're just supporting cast here. And then you've got this wonderful document. You put that in an envelope, you put the tooth in there with it, and you slide that under the pillow. What are the benefits of all of this? Ladies, what do you think are the benefits of all of this now that you've heard the procedure?
Well, they've got learning about first draft. I think that was the big one that yeah, you get something down, you're doing your best and it's great, but there's always ways you can make it better, and especially if you've got someone there that's willing to help you out. So that I think that's a real big lesson there, that one to you know, and they've started that skill of getting their message down on paper, writing.
Absolutely. Ren, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, the first thing to me was, repetition. That's a big thing. And I really, really like the idea that Patrice just mentioned is the whole thing like first drafts are not anything to be ashamed of or things like that. And just the fact that you pointed out, like, no CEO has ever written like that perfect thing. And like for me doing it myself, composing emails, I'm always like, 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 and so it just right in your sentence, it relieves so much pressure. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And I can tell you that this was a traditional practice that we had in our house. I have 3 kids. They all wrote to the Tooth Fairy. And sometimes even with all the positivity, they'd be like, and I'd say, look, mommy just spent an entire day editing people for her job. And it wasn't even a first draft. So you're doing great on your first draft. So just keep that in, get a little bit of perspective here. And then they would smile and they were like, really, those older people, they need help too? And I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Everybody can be edited. So you're joining the ranks of the CEOs of the world. And they love that. So it's an exercise and a lesson in resilience. It's a wonderful, wonderful bonding experience. You already have strong bonds with your children. Here's another way to continue to strengthen them and for them to learn to trust you and know that when they show you something, they're only going to get positivity and help from you. They don't have to worry about negativity and criticism. It's about making something better, not pointing out what you did wrong, but pointing out what you did right and then graduating from there. It's a win-win situation. And after you learn with the repetition, listen, you can do this exercise until the last baby tooth falls out. That's a lot of repetition. And what's great, at least at our home, long after my kids knew that mom and dad were actually the Tooth Fairy, because I think we got snagged one night when we were pulling out the tooth. They tried to stay up really late at night and catch the Tooth Fairy in the act. Well, even after that, we continued the tradition because it was really fun. And it was just one of those really great exercises that we adopted in the house. Now, because of this repetitious in a positive way exercise, when they went to write other things, whether it was a form or a speech or any kind of application, they were not nervous about it because they'd already been there, seen it, and done it so many times. And of course, we were always there to support them with the content and the spelling. But the bottom line was they controlled the activity. And we had multiple copies of things if we needed to, so that if we need to redo the paper, no problem, nothing to stress out about. We can do it 5 times if you want, all good, nothing happened. So here's a list of all the different things throughout life that we can apply the same Tooth Fairy exercise to. The Tooth Fairy writing lesson. Thank you, Santa, Easter Bunny, Hanukkah Harry, for being there for us. Another opportunity to write another request letter. Celebration. It's a birthday party. Aunt Susie and Uncle Mayor, they just gave me a wonderful gift. Well, you should write them a short thank you note to tell them how much you appreciate it. Text messages. Until today, with my teenagers, when I get a text message that has a really, let's just say crazy autocorrect, I will reply to my child. I'm going to hope that that was a bad autocorrect. Can you please rewrite me that text message again? And they do. And then I exhale that my teenager actually has a command of the English language. And you can do the same too.